We're going to start with Nation. Atiku dumps Makinde for Adeleke, bypasses the G5. Messi makes history with Argentina. Hoodlums set Imo Magistrate Court on fire. Why federal government can't add 24 trillion naira loan to national debt. 25 generals among 756 retired senior military officers. More pressure on Obaseki Okowa over the 13% derivation. DSS withdraws personnel from Osun Governor Adeleke, and doctor driver bandits drug supplier jailed. Okay, which story are we starting with?
Let me speak about the PDP. And so there was, as we know, that they had been working towards a truce between the Atiku Abubakar faction and the G5 faction, but they said that they have broken down irreconcilably now, and there's no going back. And so the PDP flag bearer has decided to move on, and they said he's wooing his own people who have always supported the PDP, and also some of the changes he's made. They said he has dumped Makinde as the coordinator of the Southwest campaign, and he has picked up Adeleke, Governor Adeleke, who would now be, coordinating all the activities of the Southwest from Ibadan. And they said, so the reporter says that they'd asked questions, what is going to happen to Makinde now? And the answer is just that he will be facing his campaign because he's trying to run for a second term. But so far, it has, it has broken down, and Atiku has decided to, face his front. And for me, I feel that it's long overdue, really, the back and forth. You pick a side, and then whatever happens in front happens. They said they had begged them, the spokesperson has said to them, okay, let's put this aside, let's sacrifice for the elections. And they said no. As long as those demands that they have made are not met, they are not conceding.
So hoodlums yesterday set ablaze a section of the Owerri Magistrate Court in Imo State, barely 24 hours after gunmen razed down a high court in Olo Council in the same state. The magistrate court, they said, was located at the heart of the state capital and was housing the Owerri Court, a high court, close to the official residences of the brigade commander and the police commissioner. So, there've been speculations that they don't understand how that attack happened when there's always a police security officials manned in front of the magistrate court. There's always presence of soldiers with armored vehicles stationed at the entrance, so they don't know how hoodlums were able to get in and, destroy things. So I think they were able to, they destroyed quite a number of things in the court. But, however, the police is saying that they have started investigations to find out exactly what happened.
So, more pressure on the South governors to explain how they've spent the 13% derivative and Shopee funds. The SERAP coordinator issued a letter on the 10th of December asking all the states to explain how they spent their money. So Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare issued that open letter on the 10th of December, and the letter stated a breakdown of how much each state got. So Akwa Ibom got 4.7 billion. Akwa Ibom got 128 billion. Abia received 4.7 billion. Akwa Ibom is the highest, actually. Delta got 110 billion. River State 103 billion. Ondo State 19 billion. Imo 5.5. Cross River 1.3. And all these monies were from the 13% derivative. Then there is a deduction from the derivative that was also paid to them. And the highest went to Ondo got 3.7, Rivers got 12.8, Abia 1.1, 15 billion went to Akwa Ibom. And there was another fund, Shopee funds, that was paid to all these 9 states, 4.7 billion each. So these are 3 funds that came into the coffers of the government, and the question SERAP is asking is, how has this money been spent? We also remember that the River State governor was very clear onto what he used this money to do, and the Delta State Commissioner for Information has said that Nigerians have a right to ask. They are not against explaining how they've spent the money. In Delta, we have continued to explain that what we are doing with our resources. Then he started listing the Coca interchange, Ugeli Asaba, dual carriageway under construction, that this is not voodoo economics, trying to explain what they have used their money to do. Akwa Ibom APC constituency is also trying to explain what they're using. The point is, this money is a lot of money, and I think that every member of that state should feel impact of how this money has been spent on their lives, and they have a right to ask.
All right, so I have to take a quick story why the DSS withdrew their personnel from the Osun State Governor Adeleke. According to reports, there were a bit of a rivalry between the DSS and the police attached to Adeleke. So what happened was that the governor is now begging DSS to kindly reinstate their operatives, promised that his people would no longer disrespect them. So there was a group, Ostra, they are called the Osun Shall Rise Again. In a statement through their secretary, said that DSS operatives were withdrawn from the governor for insulting them, despite attempts by the DSS headquarters to stop them from disrespecting them. So there was this between the police and the constant rivalry. So I'm still informed this morning. We're going to move on to the Punch. Finance bill, Dangote 7 of 170 firms may lose 2.4 trillion naira tax waivers. Whoop, whoop. Messi shines as Argentina breaks 36-year World Cup. Abducted couple killed despite 7.5 million naira payment buried. Unused SIMs rise by 177% to 105 million naira. Lagos couple laments 594 million loss to investment scam. 80 million Nigerians risk job loss by 2030, said World Bank. Cash limits POS operators give CBN ultimatum. Oil earnings rise by 308 billion naira. Who has the major headline? Nobody?
No,
Okay,
I took the human interest story.
Right,
So
please.
a couple who were killed by their abductors, despite the payment of ransom being paid to the abductors, they were buried recently. The man, Mr. Emmanuel Chukwuemeka, 36, and his wife, Mrs. Chinwendu Chukwuemeka, 30, were kidnapped and murdered, and yet they have not been able to identify the assailants. So this happened when both of them were returning to their house after a program, they said, at the Holy Ghost Adoration Uke in Idemili North local government area, and they were kidnapped. The kidnappers left a 4-month-old baby in the car and took them. And afterwards, they asked for ransom. They were able to raise 5 million, paid it to them. They also demanded an additional 2.5 million, which was paid to them. And finally, after they collected the money, they switched off their phones. They were not able to read them. 2 months down the line, they found these two couples, dead on the road. They were just dumped on the road. So it's been a very painful moment for the family members, and they are seeking for justice.
Let me take the major. Go ahead, please.
Okay, take the major.
You have it?
No, I don't.
So the major headline, I kind of missed it, but I'm so happy that
You're able to get.
find it. So the federal government, under the Pioneer Status Incentive, they're trying to review that because according to the report, about 172 companies may not benefit again from this incentive. According to them, they might be losing 2.4 trillion naira. So what happened? The federal government is making a move to phase out some tax waivers effective 2022. That's this year, according to the report. They say that they're going to phase out this and it's going to affect major companies. According to them, 71 countries or sectors that are eligible under this Pioneer Status Incentive will be affected. Some of them they're involved in pharmaceuticals, solid minerals, manufacturing, information and communication trade, construction, waste management. So these guys have been enjoying this tax waiver for years under the Pioneer Status Incentive. So federal government is saying, you know what, it's time for us to start making money from this because they're trying to increase tax revenue. So it's not just from the people, but from these guys who have been enjoying this waiver. And we're talking about it for so many years that all these big companies,
They shouldn't even
are you
be
taxing
enjoying-
them appropriately? But they've been
Yes.
hiding under this Pioneer scheme, Pioneer Status Incentive. So with this being taken away, it means that more revenue, more tax revenue, that will now help us
Get to
increase
the
our
government.
budget. Our fiscal budget will now be increased. Hopefully, we don't
And
know.
hopefully the
Me,
poor will be
I'm
held.
a
Last, last.
taxable business and I'm paying my taxes and I'm
I'm not talking
thinking,
about you. You've not benefited from this.
I know,
Pioneer.
but I'm saying that when we get these monies that we are hoping to get, judicious spending it appropriately is very important because we cannot tax people to pay these monies and then we will now not be, it will enter corruption and be siphoned. You know, we really
Let me not
need
mention
that.
anything, but it's an interesting read. I think I would like to read it properly and then know because I like to monitor this story.
Yes, and then let's know what the effect will be economically
Yes.
on
Don't say it
those
on paper
companies
and then nothing happens.
jobs.
And the people.
Yes.
So anyway, the World Bank has disclosed that 80 million I hate to read stories
World
like
Bank.
this, especially at the end of the year. The World Bank has disclosed that 80 million working age Nigerians will not have a full-time job by 2030 if the nation doesn't do anything to improve its employment rate. It says 23 million Nigerians will live in extreme poverty by 2030. It says that Nigeria needs to create the necessary conditions for, for employment if it wants to reduce our poverty and increase economic transformation. It says that Nigeria is one of the least developed countries in the world. As you know, we rank 160 out of 188. And it just says that every year there's 3.5 million Nigerians that enter the labor market, and our public sector, which is, largely where a lot of us go to get jobs, cannot absorb this number. So we have just millions of young Nigerians without jobs. Well, it's, on one hand, I hate to hear this sad news, but on the other hand, it's just a warning. The government is not the same old. You have to step up. We need to do something quickly because we know what the effect of just having millions of Nigerians without jobs will do to us, our security.
So let me quickly take the story of the NCC saying that the number of unused line has increased by 177% year on year. So the total number of unused lines have hit 105 million in October 2022. Corroborating the story, the chairman of Association of Licensed Telecoms Operators in Nigeria, Benga Adebayo, said that most Nigerians carry 2 phones, many of them several lines, and they have one they use more often than the other, and sometimes in the course of the journey, they just stopped using one line. He also mentioned that a lot of Nigerians in diaspora still hold on to Nigerian SIMs. When they come, they buy it, and then they travel, and they still hold on to it. So that's why it seemed like the number of lines not being used have increased. And he also mentioned that, but total number of Nigerians, 8.4 billion mobile subscribers that we have, and they are projecting that by 2028, Nigerians would have 9.2 billion, 9.2 billion Nigerians would have a phone. And there's also expectation that 6.8 billion by the end of this year. So like there's good news in terms of broadband penetration. What I said was 100 and something million out of billions of Nigerians that have a phone. I know the numbers.
Oh, we're not 2 million. We're 200 million now.
Because people have 2 phones.
Three
people
phones.
have 3 lines.
Like 5 phones now.
How many Nigerians have
So it's the number. So it's actually the number.
It's the number of SIMs being used.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a lot of
Daily Sun.
Moving on. Before you buy a phone, even.
Anger, anxiety over new naira notes. Again, hoodlums set ablaze Imo Magistrates Court. Shun violence, be wise in your decision, Khan tells voters. World Cup, Messi hailed as Argentina wins dramatic final. Agbakoba tackles EFCC over Kogi probe, accuses it of disrespecting rule of law. 2023 APC leaders minister beg Nigerians and PDP protest as Katsina refuses Atiku use of stadium. Yeah. Okay, which story?
So the presidency has said that no date has been fixed for the President, Muhammadu Buhari, to meet with delegation of Nigerian Governors Forum over the rejection of the 100,000 and 500,000 cash limit for individuals and corporate organizations recently announced by the CBN. A source from the presidency has said that because of the president's tight schedule, they don't know when they are likely to meet. But the governors had, in their meeting on Thursday, said that they want to discuss with the presidency to appeal, so that we can prevail with the already cash limits in the banks, instead of just making it 100,000 and 500 like the CBN has said, saying that they also want to move the January 30th deadline for, phasing out the old naira and, just adopting just the redesigned naira, because this is going to affect a lot of people, especially in the rural communities. They said the president's goal to ensure that they uplift people in the rural community would be disorganized if he's not able to change this cash limit, because a lot of people in the rural areas are doing this POS business and they will not be able to get money to run the business. Many of them already, I think about 1.4 million have been kicked out of business because of just this new policy. So they want the presidency to look into this so that you don't end up killing the people you are trying to lift out of poverty. There's also another thing that happens in the bank now. When you get in, you're not able to, the ATMs, they say, are still dispensing the old naira notes. And we know we just have about 30 days to phase it out. So they are saying that they don't have enough new naira notes, and then you want to phase out. So they want an extension of the date, so that will enable the CBN have more new naira notes for the people to be able to use. Right. And the fact that some people are still rejecting the new naira notes.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. People are just, they don't know.
They don't
Okay,
know.
but I hear they're even fix of it now. Some people are...
Yeah, we saw pictures.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
we saw...
Fix already?
Yes.
Some people, so we have to be very
We'll
careful.
see. Yeah, we have to... Okay, so this, the Oba of Benin has... the Oba of... I feel like you should be taking the story, but I'll take it. The Oba of Benin, Oba Eware II, CFR, has formally received the Most Outstanding Traditional Rulers Arts and Culture Award, courtesy of the federal government. The ambassador of the European Union to Nigeria and ECOWAS was among the guests when the plaque was handed over to the Oba, but it was received by his eldest daughter and also Benin Palace chiefs. And the message is the representatives of the EU and ECOWAS says he's very grateful to be in Edo State, which is a very unique state in Nigeria and beyond, also for its rich history and its rich culture. And also they were appreciating the effort of, the Edo people in just preserving this culture and arts. And the Oba also used the opportunity to call and charge people on human trafficking that is happening a lot, especially in that area, and saying that all stakeholders need to sit up and protect the rights of those who are vulnerable to this.
The point, Nigeria's public hospitals turning to death trap, says investigation. North needs to cover 4 more years to catch up with South, says Yakubu Dogara. Police nab man for presenting stolen cow for father-in-law's burial rites. More Nigerians to become poor in 2023 as inflation sustains growth. 12 top defining personalities issues events in Nigeria in 2022. Okay, who has?
Yes, I took the investigation that was carried out by The Point concerning the facilities across Nigerian public hospitals, and they said that across the state, especially pregnant women have lost their lives because of negligence and the fact that they don't have proper infrastructure to handle them. They highlighted the issue of a lot of medical doctors and nurses, leaving the country for greener pastures, and so that is leaving the medical centers almost empty with no professionals to handle the issue. So it was 1 month. They kept investigating, going to check across states and across hospitals to see what the federal government can do to ensure that we're able to hold our own when it comes to the medical facilities.
Final
and the
paper
doctors.
this morning, the Nigerian Tribune, that's my story of Nautic. NDLEA intercepts 1.7 million narcotics pills. Kogi, Agbakuba tackles EFCC over 20 billion naira bailout. Article to APC, lift veil on your standard bearer's identity. How will checkmate political parties, says INEC. 8 months withheld salaries, ASU may consider legal action against the federal government. Senate panel summons IPPIS officials over the missing 113 million naira service-wide votes. Okay, we have to wrap up soon. Which stories?
NDLEA is chasing them down again, and over 1 million pills of tramadol that were hidden in Indomie Noodles Park have been intercepted. Over 600,000 pills of tramadol that were supposed to be sent off to Karachi in Pakistan also intercepted. A trader at the Balogun market too, who was trying to ship some of these tramadol pills, was also arrested. Just a lot of things that NDLEA has done within the 2 weeks.
All right.